What if I told you that $10 trillion passes through a strip of water only 21 miles wide every single day? Almost nobody on Earth knows it. Right now, American commandos have just stormed an Iranian vessel near the Strait of Hormuz, and what they may have found on board has pushed the entire US military onto high alert. The real threat is not floating on the water, it is hiding beneath it. Let me be direct. If you understand the next 20 minutes, you will understand something 99% of the world is completely missing. Something that could reshape this entire conflict. Something that could trigger the most consequential underwater battle in modern history. So stay with me. It is late May 2026. The world's cameras are pointed at the surface of the Strait of Hormuz. Fast attack boats racing across waves, fighter jets screaming off carrier decks, missile interceptors lighting up the night sky. In the middle of that chaos, U.S. Special Operations Forces boarded and seized an Iranian ship operating suspiciously close to the strait's deepest shipping channels. Official statements were short, details were vague. But here's the question that should keep you awake at night. What was that ship really doing there? Because the answer has nothing to do with oil or weapon smuggling. The answer is lying quietly on the seafloor, 30 to 60 meters down, in the dark. 7 cables. That is all. 7 fiber optic cables resting on the seabed connecting the digital networks of Asia, Europe, and the Gulf states. They were laid decades ago because the strait is the most direct path between 3 continents. Most people have never heard of them. And yet those 7 cables carry more than $10 trillion in financial transactions every single day. Let that sink in. Not 10 billion. 10 trillion every day. That is roughly 12 times Iran's entire yearly economy flowing through glass threads thinner than a garden hose sitting completely exposed on the bottom of the most contested waterway on Earth. What runs through them? Everything: Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, every major bank moving money between continents, every insurance company authorizing tankers to sail, every currency exchange, every letter of credit that releases cargo at port, the invisible bloodstream of global commerce flowing through threads of glass you could hold in your hand. 7 cables, $10 trillion per day, total vulnerability, and here is where the story turns dark. A spokesperson for Iran's Revolutionary Guard made a public declaration that stunned analysts. Iran would now impose fees, not just on ships passing through the strait, but on the internet cables running beneath it. A toll booth, not for traffic on a road, for the data flowing through the world's financial nervous system. Then, Iranian state-linked media went further. Cable operators who refused to pay could face direct or indirect damage. Read those words again. When you threaten damage to infrastructure carrying 10 trillion a day, you are not threatening shipping anymore. You are threatening the operating system of the entire global economy. No adversary in history has ever pointed a weapon at the digital arteries of the financial world and announced it publicly. Why now? Because Iran's original strategy failed. For months, the entire plan was simple. Control the strait, control the pain. 20% of the world's seaborne oil passes through Hormuz. Squeeze that flow, force Washington to back down, but American resolve did not crack. Meanwhile, the blockade was bleeding Iran dry. $500 million per day, over 60 straight days. Iran built a weapon to strangle the world. Instead, it is strangling itself. When a strategy fails, you either abandon it or escalate it. Iran chose escalation. If $300 billion a year in oil disruption could not break American will, maybe 10 trillion a day in financial disruption would. Think about what actually happens if those cables are cut. The damage is not measured in oil prices. It is measured in cascading system failures. Trade documents that cannot be confirmed means cargo freezes at ports worldwide. Currency settlements that cannot clear means international payments stop moving. Insurance confirmations that cannot transmit means ships cannot legally sail. Within hours, the shockwave ripples from Singapore to London to New York. Markets convulse. Supply chains implode. Entire economies seize up. Now you might think cutting a seabed cable in the ocean requires advanced military technology. Something easy to detect and stop. The truth is the exact opposite. Cutting a seabed cable in 30 to 60 meters of water requires a diver. Cutting tools that fit in a bag. One small submarine to deliver that diver. That is the entire operation. 7 men against the financial heartbeat of civilization. and Iran has exactly the submarine for the job. It is called the Ghadir class. On paper, it does not look like much. 95 feet long, 125 tons submerged. An American nuclear submarine displaces over 7,000 tons. Diesel electric power, a crew of 7. Its design traces back to North Korea's Yono class. Before this war, Iran had between 16 and 23 of them. American intelligence believes roughly 12 have been destroyed. That leaves around 10 still in the water, all based at Bandar Abbas, just minutes from the strait. But do not let the size fool you. The Ghadir carries supercavitating torpedoes, the underwater equivalent of hypersonic missiles. Instead of pushing through water, they fly inside a bubble of gas. Water resistance eliminated. At the close ranges of the strait's narrow waters, evasion becomes practically impossible. A ship's crew might have seconds between detection and impact. The Ghadir can also fire an anti-ship cruise missile from underwater, range of about 100 nautical miles. It can lay mines. A British Royal Navy submarine commander put it directly. These are tiny submarines, but they carry enough torpedoes to sink a couple of ships. But the truly terrifying capability is simpler. The Ghadir can deploy combat divers, frogmen, delivered silently to any point on the seafloor, including the cables. Connect the dots. Iran publicly threatens damage to seabed cables. Iran possesses 10 submarines built for shallow water, each capable of delivering divers. The cables sit in 30 to 60 meters of water. The base is minutes away. This is not hypothetical, this is a loaded gun with the safety off. Here is the cruel irony. The strait is possibly the best place on Earth for these submarines to hide. Big nuclear submarines are built for deep ocean. Put one in 30 meters of water and its advantages evaporate. Shallow water is an acoustic nightmare. Sound bounces off the bottom, off the surface, scattering until even the best sonar struggles to tell a submarine from a shadow. The Ghadir was born for this environment. Sitting silently on the bottom, engines off, it is barely distinguishable from a rock. And the strait is one of the loudest underwater places on the planet. Hundreds of ships churning noise around the clock. Finding one quiet little submarine in that chaos is like hearing a whisper in a packed stadium. The US Navy is hunting that whisper while simultaneously fighting off swarms of attack boats, intercepting drone barrages. Over 150 Shahed drones and 12 anti-ship missiles in one recent engagement. Protecting carrier groups. Analysts call it the most complex anti-submarine problem the American military has ever faced. Iran knows this. That is exactly why this is the threat they chose. But they may have badly miscalculated, because America has not been sitting still. In 30 years of analyzing military capability, I can tell you this. What is about to happen in these waters represents something fundamentally different. Layer 1 is the P-8 Poseidon. Outside it looks like an ordinary Boeing 737. Inside it is the most advanced submarine hunting aircraft ever built. It drops fields of sonobuoys, floating listening devices, creating invisible acoustic tripwires across the strait. Its upgraded processors were designed for one specific threat: small, quiet, diesel submarines in noisy, shallow water. P-8S are already operating around Bandar Abbas and Keshem Island, mapping every underwater contact. Every time a Ghadir fires up its motors, it adds another data point to the acoustic profile the Americans are building. The net tightens with every transit. Layer 2 is the MH-60R Seahawk helicopter flying off destroyers inside the strait right now. When a sonobuoy field detects something, the Seahawk races over, hovers, lowers a dipping sonar directly into the water, converting vague into precise location. Then it deploys the Mark 54 torpedo, a weapon engineered to function in exactly the cluttered, echo-filled shallow water that defeats older torpedoes. Detection, localization, kill. But Layer 3 changes everything, and Iran may not even know it exists. In February 2026, just weeks before this conflict ignited, Lockheed Martin unveiled the Lamprey, a large robot submarine designed around one mission: dominating shallow water without being heard. It has no conventional propeller, the loudest part of almost any underwater vehicle. Instead, it uses a tapered hull with vectored thrust, acoustically nearly invisible, engineered to dissolve into the background noise of waters exactly like the Persian Gulf. Think about what that means for the Ghadir. It survives by listening, but a machine that sounds identical to the ocean does not register as a threat. It does not register as anything. The Lamprey finds the Ghadir before the Ghadir ever knows it is there. And here is the capability that should chill Iranian commanders. The lamprey can latch on. It can physically attach to a submarine's hull and follow it home. Why does that matter? Because the hardest problem was never finding a Gadir in open water. It was finding where the Gadirs hide. Iran has carved underground naval bases into coastal rock near Bandar Abbas, tunnels designed to defeat satellites. You cannot bomb what you cannot locate. But a lamprey riding silently on a Gadir's hull as it returns to base delivers the exact coordinates of the sanctuary itself. Once those coordinates exist, F-35s and F-15Es carrying 5,000-pound bunker busters can erase the base and every submarine inside it. There is a fourth piece, DARPA's Manta Ray, an autonomous underwater glider that parks on the seabed for weeks, silently watching the cable routes. While jets need fuel and helicopters need to land, the Manta Ray just waits, forever patient. Put it together. The P-8 detects, the Seahawk localizes, the Manta Ray keeps constant watch, the lamprey follows the prey home, the strike aircraft close the chapter, a complete kill chain, live, operational, aimed at roughly 10 remaining submarines. So the entire crisis comes down to a race. Can Iran's submarines reach the cables before America's hunting machine finishes mapping their hidden bases? Whoever wins may decide how this war ends, and the timing reveals Iran's true mindset. Just as the cable threat appeared, President Trump revealed that a massive military strike, scheduled and ready, had been postponed at the request of 3 Gulf Arab leaders who believed a deal was still possible. One last off-ramp. A pause, a chance for negotiation, a moment when things could still change direction. So what did the Revolutionary Guard do with that window? Negotiate? Soften its nuclear position? No. It used the window to threaten the financial infrastructure of the planet. They do not see the pause as a chance for peace. They see it as a chance to manufacture leverage before the door slams shut. There is a cynical logic underneath it. By threatening the cables, Iran is not just threatening governments, it is threatening Google, Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, the most powerful companies on earth with the loudest voices in Washington. Iran is betting those giants will pressure the White House to settle on softer terms. But that bet may backfire spectacularly. Those same companies have every reason to argue the opposite. That defending the cables is a core American interest worth fighting for. Iran may have just handed Washington its most unifying justification yet. The rest of the chessboard is not quiet either. Chinese agents were near a French Starlink ground station with equipment to intercept military satellite communications. Norway arrested a Chinese national stealing satellite data. The NSA and 19 partner agencies warned of Chinese hackers burrowing into military networks since 2021. All while Beijing publicly plays peacemaker on Iran, the handshake and the lockpick at the same time. That is how great power competition really works, which brings us back to that seized ship and the race beneath the waves. Here is where everything stands. Iran has shifted from oil leverage to financial infrastructure leverage. It has the submarines and the divers to execute the threat. Its surface fleet has been mauled. Its command centers struck. Its economy hemorrhaging $500 million a day. The cable threat is not its strongest card. It is close to its last one. On the other side, the American kill chain is alive. The P-8S are tracking patterns right now. The Seahawks are inside the strait right now. The lamprey is watching the seabed right now. The lamprey, silent, invisible, patient, has been in theater since February, solving the one puzzle that protected Iran's fleet all along, where the submarines sleep. 2 scenarios play out from here. Scenario 1, Iran moves first and cuts the cables. $10 trillion a day seizes up. Markets convulse. The postponed assault gains an unstoppable justification overnight. America strikes. The bunker busters fall. The Gadir fleet ceases to exist. The cable threat becomes a footnote, the last card Iran played before the game ended. Scenario 2, America's hunters finish first. The exact coordinates of the underground bases are transmitted. The strike happens. The Gadir fleet is erased before a single cable is cut. The threat evaporates. The war enters its final phase. Iran has no leverage left. 2 clocks are ticking in the dark water of Hormuz. Nobody knows which runs faster. But here is what keeps me awake at night. The most consequential battle of this entire conflict may never produce a single explosion you will see on the news. It may be decided in total silence. 60 meters down, by a machine that makes no sound riding on the hull of a submarine whose crew has no idea it is there. Iran is threatening the world with a weapon it believes cannot be found. America has built a hunter that cannot be heard. One of them is wrong, and the whole world is about to find out which. If this video opened your eyes about the true stakes beneath these waters, subscribe right now so you do not miss what happens next in this race. The battle beneath the waves will determine everything that comes after it, and I will be here breaking down every development in real time. Tell me in the comments, who wins this race? The Iranian submarine reaching the cables or the American hunter reaching the base? Because I read every single comment, and I want to know what you think happens next when these clocks finally run out. See you in the next video. Word count, 3,421.